Hey everybody, this is Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino,
I'm Brad Jones from the cinemasnob.com.
and this is the Real Snob review of Riddick. We went and seen Riddick last night, and I have to say, I got what I expected. How about you?
More or less, yeah, and I'm going by 9 years of memory here, of course, since 9 years ago the last Riddick movie came out, and before then was Pitch Black, so it had been that long since I'd seen them, and I wanted more in the style of Pitch Black than I did Chronicles of Riddick, because Chronicles was basically taking a B-movie character and trying to make a Star Wars franchise for kids out of it, and that doesn't really work. So with the new Riddick, he's back to his B-movie roots. It's an exploitation film. It's a hard R, so I certainly got what I wanted.
Yeah, with Pitch Black, I enjoyed them all, even the cartoon.
Yeah.
Which I honestly, I was thinking about it last night. I honestly think I did enjoy Riddick more than the cartoon.
Yeah.
But the cartoon just fit that style real well. It was kind of an anime style, so it fit it pretty well. Pitch Black was decent. Yeah, Chronicles was a bit overblown.
Yeah.
And I didn't want, I was glad they wrapped that up.
Yeah.
But I was afraid, I was so afraid that until I learned what the budget was
38.
like 38 or 40
Yeah.
million. I wasn't too afraid after that. I didn't know the numbers until last night, but I knew it was low because they were saying the Chronicles was 100 and some, 130.
About 120, I think, 115.
And so, overblown, way overdone, and
Yeah.
still was not very good. But being I knew it was lower budget, I was expecting it to be not as, on par graphically and things like that. And that's actually part of the charm, I think.
That's exactly the kind of movie that it should have been. It is from beginning to end trash. It is. And I don't mean that as an insult. I don't. It's a B movie. It's an exploitation flick. It feels like watching a Bruno Mattei movie on a budget. Everything about this movie that if some movie that's way more ambitious than this tried and had the effects that this movie does and even had some of the dialogue than this movie does, it might not work so well, but when you put it into a movie that is a that is a very exploitive cartoon, whether we're talking about sex, whether we're talking about violence or extremely false machismo or these, and again, I do mean this as a compliment, a relatively two-dimensional character that is good at being a two-dimensional character, you really get what you want out of it. And I do agree with you in the sense that I do like that it does tie in with the other two movies. It isn't just, okay, the second movie didn't do as well, we're just going to reboot the whole thing. It doesn't do that. It does show you what happened after the second one leaves off. It does reference things from the first one, and I think it did it well because it did it as if it weren't really speaking to dummies or people who are just seeing it for the first time. When it references events and characters from the first one, it's just going off that people in the audience have seen it. It isn't like they're mentioning the character of Johns and then suddenly we get a flashback of Johns just so people who haven't seen it can know who he is. It doesn't do that. It's a movie for fans of the character and also made by fans of the character because Vin Diesel loves this freaking character and so does the director. I mean, Vin Diesel himself bought the rights to the freaking character. He certainly knows him through and through. He knows that he's a brutal badass, basically, and it works because of Vin Diesel's charm. Vin Diesel can get away with saying stuff like, all of my days are bad, but this one's a particularly bad day, or they left me on the planet of Furia, but it actually turned out to be the planet of not Furia. Like stuff like that. That he sells it. This movie totally sells that just completely cartoonish, cardboard cutout machismo in the same way that Bruno Mattei did with the Reb Brown flicks. He does it in this movie as well, and that was a lot of fun.
Well, you were talking about his love of the character, which you definitely can tell he's having fun, even more fun than, say, playing Dom in Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
I think he likes that character, but I think this one is the kind of the superhero he wants to play. And granted, he may be playing a superhero soon because Marvel's been talking to him, but he's wanting to play a superhero. This is his created superhero. It was almost created for him, even though I don't even know if that was even the what they really wanted when they made Pitch Black. I was reading up last night, and they said that the way he got to get the role or to get the character was his cameo in Fast and the Furious 3. He said he didn't take money.
Yeah.
He said, I want Riddick. And I just love that he got that way. And of course, we were also talking about he put a lien on his house.
Yeah.
And I thought that was hilarious. He goes, if we don't make this movie, I'm going to be homeless. Granted, I think he'd be okay because I'm sure the next Fast and Furious will make a ton of money. But
yeah, it will.
But it just shows I'd like an actor that, I mean, even he's had some great roles where he's not this type of character.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that he loves this character that much that he's doing whatever he can to get that out there. And I actually think the way he's playing it now is the way it should be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And a movie like this can easily just be made on a $30 million budget. It doesn't need to be $100 million. Same with Dredd. They did Dredd on like a $30-some million budget, somewhere around there. And it's a great freaking movie. It was my favorite movie of last year. Riddick isn't my favorite movie of this year, but it is what it is, and it's fun. And it is more fun to play an anti-hero, which I guess Dominic Toretto sort of is, but not in this, but a different league than Richard Riddick, because Dominic Toretto seems like he has a little bit more morals than Riddick does. Riddick will just straight up murder you.
Well, Dominic's got the thing about family and his friends are family.
Yeah.
And Riddick, though he does end up caring for people in these other movies, especially that little girl in Pitch Black.
Oh, sure.
And then a couple other characters in this one, and even one I didn't think he was going to care about. And I was kind of glad they had that little twist with the Johns character.
Yeah.
I was afraid that was going to be a big, repeat of Pitch Black, but they actually worked around that a little bit, and I like that. He's still a universe wanted multi-mass murderer.
Yeah, he is. In another movie, he easily could be the villain, And for a third of the movie, he kind of is. The movie it by and large has a three-piece arc. It does. It has 3 acts to it. The first act is him alone on this distant planet, basically playing survival, trying to survive on this odd, distant, very CGI'd planet that, again, totally leads to its charm. It does. It's really a one-man show for the first third of the movie, and he carries that because he's a likable guy. And then the second act has to do with him sending a beacon out, and 2 sets of mercenaries and bounty hunters come looking for him, and then it kind of turns into like The Thing, but instead of The Thing, it's Riddick, and Riddick is like kind of hunting these people. It's like it's Predator, but Riddick's the Predator, That was kind of cool, because from that point, you're sort of seeing it from the bounty hunter's perspective. It just doesn't simply villainize all of them. We stick with them for a good core of the movie, and there's some of them that are bad, and there's some of them that are not as bad of people. And then the third act gets into the monsters, which are basically xenomorphs crossed with a scorpion, and then it kind of goes into Pitch Black territory there. But it really does have a good arc to it. And one of the things I liked a lot about this movie was Katie Sackhoff's performance.
Very much.
As Dahl, D-A-H-L, subtle.
Well, the first time, I hate to cut you off, the first time they called her that, I thought he was just calling her.
So did I.
Hey, doll. And then everyone kept calling her that. And it's like, is that her name? And then in the credits, D-A-H-L.
I was with you. I thought that they were just calling her that as like a name too, because the rest of the movie they're all trying to bang her. They're all real. This is it's a very, how do I put this? It's a very aggressive workforce that she's in. But she plays this kid. She has whole scenes where she doesn't really say much, but she completely acts with her face and with her eyes. She has scenes where she is sniping people from God knows how far away. And you just look in her eyes, and she's intimidating. Some shots, she's more intimidating than Riddick is. And she does so with a character that doesn't have the most dialogue in it. And while while I certainly would have liked to have seen her used maybe in the John's role, like maybe it's John's sister or something like that instead of father, like that of course I would have liked. I can kind of understand why they didn't, because then she completely would have overshadowed Riddick in his own movie if that were the case. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I kind of understand why they did that. But she walks away with whole scenes in this movie that she doesn't say a word in. You know, she's got scenes where she'll just up and punch somebody in the face. She's got scenes where she's just staring down people, and she has this like smile on her face, like she loves what she's doing. She loves that she's holding this sniper rifle and is gonna pop off a dude from a mile away. She could easily be a next great action hero.
Yeah, they definitely carried that over a lot from the Starbuck character. I mean, she wasn't playing Starbuck.
No,
but there's definitely the looks on her face.
Yeah.
You know, some of her mannerisms. I mean, it's the same actress. You're going to get that. But yeah, you're right. She definitely knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I believe you mentioned or said last night that you couldn't see anybody else pulling that off. I mean, there may be somebody out there, but off the top of our heads, really can't think of anybody. There might be a couple.
Sure,
if you really gave it some thought.
Yeah, like a Michelle Rodriguez or someone. But she does a good job of distancing that character from Starbuck, because it's a more brutal character than Starbuck. It's a much more vulgar character than Starbuck. And this movie has many moments where, yeah, it's essentially apologizing for the last one being PG-13. There are monsters eating their own entrails. There's guts all over the place. There's decapitation. There's completely gratuitous nudity, which, again, I say that lovingly so, because it is a B movie through and through. It's a hard R science fiction film. Theatrically, we don't get a lot of those anymore, so it was nice to A, have one of those out, and B, actually have it be worth a ticket price, because it is.
Yeah, I was considering seeing it again this weekend just because I had so much fun.
Yeah.
And the thing was, we started laughing near the first.
Yeah.
And we had some looks from people, because I think a lot of people expected something more like Chronicles.
Yeah.
And then they learned that's not what we're going to get. This is more fun.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that, you know, people were able to, I wouldn't say forgive it for not being Chronicles.
Yeah.
They gave up their expectation quickly and just decided, let's have a good time and let's laugh along. Riddick's being funny. The cast is being funny. I mean, the scenes with Katie Sackhoff and that was it Santana?
Yeah.
The leader of one of the groups, and you know, there's scenes that, you know, there was that odd cut where, you know, you thought he was gonna rape her, and then they cut, and then they're both standing up, and you wonder what happened. There? It's like you thought they missed something, and it's like, oh yeah, I beat him up again. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, that explains that, I guess. That was a weird cut.
and the other supporting characters, some of them were okay. Mm-hmm. None of them were as strong as Katie Sackhoff or as the guy playing Johns. He was a little less strong, but he had a lot of purpose for being there. And I kind of figured out who he was going to be.
Yeah.
Not maybe exactly, but in a way he was either friend or family. Mm-hmm. I kind of figured that out, but I kind of wanted that because that definitely tied it into Pitch Black.
Same here.
I was afraid the only way they were going to tie it into Pitch Black was, oh, it's going to get dark and there's monsters again.
Yeah.
And I was so afraid for that. I was so glad they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And these movies are now, if they made another one like this, I would be excited to see it.
Me too. Keep it a B movie. Keep it at a $30 million budget. You know, make it about Riddick just being a macho character and keep the sense of humor, because that's the thing too. Yeah, we laughed during this movie, but it wasn't like we were laughing at the movie. We're laughing along with it, along with these characters spouting out this B-movie macho dialogue that works. The characters in this movie, they fit their archetype. They do. These are the kind of characters that just walk out and say things like, I am sight, I am sound, and I want your head in a box. You know, stuff that, like, no real person would actually say, but they would in a movie like this, and they deliver it well. They deliver it tongue-in-cheek, but not being annoying about it. But not being too annoying about it.
Okay, we'll end on this. If they go further with this, where do you want to see it go? Do you want to see them go to say back to him trying to get his kingdom? Do you think they're going to leave that alone? Do you think that's just over? Because I mean, I'd love to see. I mean, Carl Urban was in the movie for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I kind of expected. I mean, they didn't even give him the same haircut.
Yeah.
You know, he had slick back hair probably from filming another movie.
Yeah.
You know, do you think they're going to go there, or do you think they're going to try to have him find his home still and just find a new threat? How do you think they're going to... honestly think, in the end, he will get his revenge on Carl Urban, but he's not going to take his kingdom back. He's going to be like, this ain't me. I just wanted to, blood for blood. I don't want to keep what I kill, so to speak.
Sure, yeah.
So how do you think they're going to proceed, if they get to proceed?
I'm sure, since it's still... Like, yes, it does tie it in with the Carl Urban character in this, but it doesn't 100% wrap it up. It just kind of picks up from where that leaves off. Yeah, I would like to see Carl Urban back, of course, but it's Carl Urban. I want to see Carl Urban in every movie that comes out. I want it to surprise me, I do. Yeah, it would be cool to bring back Urban and continue on with that story, much smaller scale and much more true to the character than Chronicles did. But again, like I said, I don't want it to be too predictable. Like, we probably don't need another one where he just ends up on another planet with a bunch of monsters, with a bunch of aliens on it. Already we've had 2 of those. We've had Pitch Black, we've had this one. I'd like to see it surprise me about where it goes, again, while still keeping it as a B movie.
I honestly see them finding someone else that has the same eyes as him, the same strengths as him.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, him fight an equal.
Yeah.
Or maybe even someone stronger, because I was so though we laughed and it was funny, the fight with Batista in this. Mm-hmm. It was funny while it happened, but it was over too quick. And it's like, oh, come on. You have Batista, the guy that's bigger than him, and you're not going to have him. Oh, well. It was still funny the way it happened.
Yeah.
But I want to see him fight an equal, not monsters.
I think that would be fun. And it would be different. It would be different. It wouldn't be just a bunch of monsters again.
But so as you can tell, guys, though it's not a great movie, it's a fun movie. And especially if you enjoy the character, you enjoy Vin Diesel, you're probably going to enjoy it. We had a good time. We laughed and just decided this is not going to be anything serious. It's just a good, fun movie. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't go see it in the theater, rent it, because I would love to see them make another one. It's just, and as he said, it's garbage, but it's good garbage.
Yeah.
It's the type of garbage you want to see this type of movie over and over and over again. Not the same movie, but these types of movies, just actors having fun with their roles, just goofy dialogue. They know they're having fun, and they're not trying to be too serious. I really dug it.
Same here. I recommend it. I would recommend a full theater price for it. I honestly would.
I wasn't disappointed I went. I was glad I went.
Me too.
Well, guys, this has been the Real Snob Review. I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino.
I'm Brad Jones from thecinemasnob.com.
Until next time.